Fiction often gets dismissed as mere entertainment, escapist diversions that offer little beyond temporary amusement. Yet, this view fundamentally misunderstands the profound educational power that resides within great works of literature. Far from being frivolous distractions, well-crafted fictional narratives serve as some of humanity's most effective teachers, offering lessons that textbooks and lectures cannot match in their depth and lasting impact. The mirror of human experience. Fiction's greatest strength lies in its ability to illuminate the universal aspects of human experience through particular stories. When we read about characters facing moral dilemmas, grappling with loss, or struggling against injustice, we encounter situations that may be foreign to our immediate circumstances, yet deeply familiar to our inner lives. This recognition creates what psychologists call theory of mind, the ability to understand that others have thoughts, feelings, and perspectives different from our own. James Baldwin captured this transformative power beautifully when he observed, "You think your pain and your heartbreak are unprecedented in the history of the world, but then you read. It was books that taught me that the things that tormented me most were the very things that connected me with all people who were alive, who had ever been alive." This insight reveals how fiction serves as a bridge between the isolation of individual experience and the recognition of shared humanity. Emotional intelligence and empathy. Fiction develops emotional intelligence in ways that purely factual learning cannot. When we follow Elizabeth Bennet through her journey in Pride and Prejudice, we don't simply learn about 19th century social customs, we experience the complexity of first impressions, the dangers of prejudice, and the growth that comes from self-reflection. When we witness Atticus Finch's moral courage in To Kill a Mockingbird, we grapple with questions of justice and moral responsibility that extend far beyond the specific historical context. These emotional lessons stick because they're embedded in narrative. Our brains are wired to remember stories more effectively than abstract principles. Cultural understanding and perspective. Fiction also serves as a gateway to understand cultures, historical periods, and social conditions different from our own. Through the works of authors like Chinua Achebe, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, or Haruki Murakami, readers gain insights into worldviews and experiences that broaden their understanding of human possibility and cultural diversity. This cultural education through fiction often proves more memorable and impactful than traditional historical or anthropological studies. When we read Khalid Hosseini's The Kite Runner, we don't just learn facts about Afghanistan. We feel the weight of guilt, the complexity of friendship across ethnic divides, and the long shadows cast by political upheaval. These emotional connections create deeper understanding and lasting empathy. Moral and philosophical exploration. Great fiction serves as a laboratory for moral and philosophical thinking. Authors create scenarios that allow us to explore ethical questions in their full complexity without the pressure of the immediate real-world consequences. Through characters like Jean Valjean in Les Miserables or Raskolnikov in Crime and Punishment, we examine questions of justice, redemption, and the nature of good and evil. Fiction's power to explore moral ambiguity makes it particularly valuable in developing critical thinking. Real life rarely presents clear-cut moral choices, and fiction mirrors this complexity. Characters we initially judge harshly may reveal understandable motivations. Heroes may display troubling flaws. This nuanced portrayal of human nature teaches us to suspend quick judgment and consider multiple perspectives. skills essential for both personal relationships and civic participation. The art of living. Perhaps most importantly, fiction teaches us about the art of living itself. Through literature, we witness how people navigate life's fundamental challenges: love and loss, ambition and failure, meaning and despair. We see characters make choices and face consequences, allowing us to vicariously explore different approaches to life's questions. Fiction doesn't provide simple answers or easy formulas for happiness. Instead, it offers something more valuable, a deeper appreciation for life's complexity, and the recognition that meaning often emerges from struggle and growth. When we read about characters who find purpose in suffering, who discover love in unexpected places, or who persist despite overwhelming odds, we're not just being entertained. We're being educated in the possibilities of human resilience and creativity. The lessons derived from good fiction are not merely academic exercises, but practical wisdom for living. They teach us empathy, expand our emotional vocabulary, challenge our assumptions, and offer us models for navigating life's complexities. In a world increasingly divided by ideology and limited by narrow experience, fiction reminds us of our shared humanity and the rich tapestry of human possibility. Baldwin's insight about books connecting us to all who have lived reveal fiction's ultimate gift: the recognition that despite our individual struggles and apparent isolation, we are part of an ongoing human story. The pain, joy, hope, and fear we experience have been felt by countless others before us. And through fiction, we join this vast conversation about what it means to be human. In teaching us this connection, great works of fiction provide perhaps the most important lesson of all: that we are never truly alone. 4 lessons from Alice's journey. To illustrate how even seemingly whimsical fiction can offer profound life lessons, consider Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. While often dismissed as mere children's fantasy, Alice's journey through Wonderland provides remarkably applicable wisdom for navigating our own complex world. Number 1. Question authority and conventional wisdom. Throughout her adventure, Alice encounters numerous authority figures: the Queen of Hearts, the Mock Turtle, the Caterpillar, who make arbitrary rules and present facts that don't stand up to scrutiny. Alice's willingness to question these pronouncements, even when intimidated, teaches us the importance of critical thinking. In our own lives, we face institutions, traditions, and experts who may be wrong or self-serving. Alice's example reminds us that because I said so is never sufficient reason to accept something as true, and that healthy skepticism is essential for intellectual growth. Number 2, embrace curiosity despite uncertainty. Alice's entire adventure begins with her decision to follow the white rabbit down the rabbit hole, despite not knowing where it leads. Throughout Wonderland, she continues to explore, ask questions, and engage with strange new experiences rather than retreating to safety. This teaches us that meaningful growth often requires us to venture into the unknown, whether starting a new career, moving to a different city, or exploring unfamiliar ideas. Alice shows us that curiosity and courage in the face of uncertainty can lead to extraordinary discoveries about ourselves and the world. Number 3, maintain your identity while adapting to change. One of Alice's central struggles involves the constant changes to her size and the challenge of maintaining her sense of self in a world where nothing follows familiar rules. Yet she never completely loses her core identity, even when others try to tell her who she should be. This reflects the real-world challenge of staying true to ourselves while adapting to new environments, relationships, and life stages. Alice demonstrates that flexibility and authenticity aren't mutually exclusive. We can adapt to circumstances while preserving our essential values and character. Number 4, find logic in apparent chaos. Wonderland appears completely mad, yet Alice gradually learns to navigate this peculiar logic. The Mad Hatter's riddles, the Cheshire Cat's disappearing act, and the Queen's croquet game all operate by their own internal rules, however strange. Alice's success comes not from imposing her old world's logic on Wonderland, but from learning to understand each situation on its own terms. This teaches us that what initially appears chaotic or senseless often has its own underlying patterns and meaning. Whether dealing with a new workplace culture, understanding a different generation's perspective, or adapting to technological change, Alice's approach reminds us to look for the hidden logic rather than dismissing what we don't immediately understand. These lessons from Alice's journey illustrates how fiction can provide practical wisdom wrapped in imaginative narratives. Carroll's whimsical tale becomes a guide for intellectual courage, personal growth, and adaptive thinking. Skills as relevant today as they were in Victorian England. Alice in Wonderland and Their Eyes Were Watching God. The educational richness of fiction becomes particularly evident when we examine how different authors approach similar themes through vastly different narrative lenses. Zora Neale Hurston's Their Eyes Were Watching God and Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland may seem worlds apart. One a Victorian fantasy, the other a Harlem Renaissance exploration of Black womanhood in the American South. Yet both chronicle transformative journeys of self-discovery that offer profound lessons about identity, autonomy, and authentic living. Navigating restrictive worlds. Both Alice and Janie Crawford find themselves in environments governed by arbitrary rules and expectations that seem designed to limit their potential. Alice confronts Wonderland's nonsensical authority figures who demand unquestioning obedience to illogical commands. Janie faces a society that insists women, particularly Black women, should remain silent and subservient. Both protagonists must learn to navigate these restrictive systems while preserving their essential selves. The key difference lies in the nature of these restrictions. Alice's challenges are largely intellectual and social. She must outwit the Mad Hatter's riddles and survive the Queen's arbitrary justice. Janie's obstacles are deeply rooted in intersecting systems of racial and gender oppression that carry real-world consequences for her physical safety, economic security, and social standing. The evolution of voice and self-expression. Both narratives trace their protagonist's development from relatively powerlessness to authentic self-expression. Alice begins as a polite Victorian child who follows social conventions, but gradually learns to question authority and speak her mind. Janie's journey spans decades, moving from a young woman silenced by her grandmother's fears and her first husband's control to someone who finds her voice through love, loss, and hard-won wisdom. The contrast in their paths to self-expression reflects their different worlds. Alice's growth happens through intellectual curiosity and logical reasoning. She learns to see through false authority by applying critical thinking. Janie's awakening is more deeply embodied, connected to her understanding of love, sensuality, and her place in both her community and the natural world. Mentorship and guidance. While both characters must ultimately rely on their own strength, they receive very different forms of guidance. Alice encounters a series of cryptic advisors, the caterpillar, the Cheshire Cat, the mock turtle, who offer oblique wisdom wrapped in riddles and wordplay. These interactions teach her to think independently and question assumptions. Janie's most significant guidance comes from her relationship with Tea Cake, who encourages her to embrace joy, adventure, and her own desires. Unlike Alice's enigmatic guides, Tea Cake offers practical lessons about living fully and authentically. However, both protagonists must learn that external guidance can only take them so far. True growth requires internal courage and self-reliance. Return and integration. The conclusion of both works highlight different approaches to integrating transformative experiences. Alice awakens from her dream and returns to her ordinary life, but she carries with her the lessons learned in Wonderland about questioning authority and thinking independently. Her adventure serves as a kind of rehearsal for approaching real-world challenges with greater confidence and critical thinking skills. Janie returns to her hometown, fundamentally changed. Her journey has taught her about love, independence, and her own strength. Unlike Alice's return to childhood innocence, Janie's homecoming represents the completion of a full life cycle. She has traveled far, loved deeply, and gained wisdom that she can now share with others. Complementary teachings about growth. Together, these works demonstrate how fiction can approach the universal theme of self-discovery from multiple angles. Carroll's fantasy teaches us that intellectual courage and logical thinking are essential tools for navigating life's absurdities. Hurston's realism shows us that authentic living often requires emotional courage and the willingness to face social disapproval in pursuit of genuine fulfillment. Both novels ultimately argue that true maturity comes not from conforming to external expectations, but from developing the courage to live according to one's own values and insights. Whether through Alice's logical questioning or Janie's emotional awakening, both characters model the kind of brave authenticity that allows individuals to thrive, even in hostile or bewildering environments. This shared wisdom, expressed through such different narrative approaches, demonstrates fiction's remarkable capacity to illustrate universal truths about human growth and resilience. The enduring classroom of fiction. Great literature functions as humanity's most sophisticated classroom, one where the curriculum includes not just facts and figures, but wisdom about living itself. Fiction teaches us lessons that no other medium can match in depth and durability. It develops our capacity for empathy by allowing us to inhabit other lives and perspectives. It provides safe spaces to explore moral complexity without real-world consequences. It connects us across time and culture and to the shared struggles and triumphs that define human experience. Most importantly, it shows us that our individual journeys, with all their confusion, pain, and growth, are part of a larger story that has been unfolding for millennia. Whether we find ourselves questioning authority like Alice in Wonderland, discovering our authentic voice like Janie Crawford, or simply seeking connection in our isolation like Baldwin himself, fiction offers both mirror and map. It reflects our deepest concerns back to us while charting possible paths forward. If you're still listening, thank you. Please like and subscribe for more content. I appreciate you.